As a federal prosecutor in northern BC, I review a lot of Glad U reports, which are documents prepared specifically to inform the court about a person's Indigenous background during a sentencing hearing. Most Glad U reports share the same tragic occurrence. The subject's parents were forced to attend Lejac Indian Residential School, south of Fraser Lake, BC. Following that experience, those parents struggled with alcoholism, mental illness, and poverty. Their kids, meaning the subject of the report and their siblings, were removed from that family by the government agencies and placed in foster care hundreds of kilometers south of their home. In foster homes, those children experienced neglect, mistreatment, indescribable abuses. Eventually, they are returned to their birthplace, but they don't know their parents, or their aunts, or their uncles, or their language, their traditions, or their land. Their impressions of Indigenous people are based on their experiences of people in crisis. We are a mountain biking association. We exist to care for and maintain the trails because the land is important to people. The NSMBA is a nonprofit with a relatively narrow mission and vision, but if our work can repair some harm that was inflicted upon the first peoples of this land, we should do it. In this context, we recognize it's more than simply animals. It is the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations. At first, thanks to our AGM partner, Bike Park, Nani, Red Truck Brewing, Pine Sushi, Tandem Photography, and Stong's Market. Yeah, that deserves a woo. Woo! Okay, the time is 7:06. We are calling the meeting to order without any injuries at 7:06 p.m. The AGM is our principal opportunity for the NSMBA to recap what this organization has accomplished during the past year and to advise you, our members, of some of the upcoming plans and to answer your questions. We're going to follow the Robert's Rules of Order, if we can remember them. We will have some usual business, we will have an election, and then we will have questions and answers at the end. Time has been set aside, minimal to about 3 to 5 minutes. As always, be civil, be nice, and if there are questions that are not answered, as always, you can email the info@nsmba.ca email address. This is another reminder that we're going to be doing the voting system through the Member 365 portal. So get your passwords and usernames, have them at hand so that during the 20-minute or so window of the election, you're not scrambling, sweating, trying to remember it is how you log into that. Okay, the agenda. First official business, we need to adopt this agenda, adopt the agenda for 2023. Kat, one hand, and then I heard a voice. Who's that voice? Cooper? Thank you, Cooper. Okay, the agenda is adopted. Also, hearing nothing, any abstentions, no objections, no. The agenda is adopted. Second official item of business is to approve the minutes from the 2022 AGM. This may be a little difficult for you to read. I assure you they are accurate. Describe what happened last night at the Pinnacle Hotel, but I'll leave them up here for a moment. Just a brief review, call the meeting to order, message, financial report. We had a membership review, trail advocacy review, trail adoption program update, trails updates. We had a special resolution which we voted upon, that passed. We then had an election, and ultimately, because I forgot, Cooper moved to adjourn the meeting. So thanks again for that, man. Looking to adopt the minutes. Motion moved by Vince Bees. Ella, thank you. One of our for this year. My apologies. Seconds the motion, so the minutes are approved. Everybody doing okay? Can you hear me? It's not, sounds real loud up here. Okay. Hello, again. Last year, I stood in front of you all for the first time as a representative of the board, and it feels only marginally less surreal the second time around. In part, the entire year has transpired. At the 2022 AGM, I met for the first time the folks behind the North Shore Bike Park, and for them tonight, a mere 2 weeks after their own grand opening, is a demonstration of not only their generosity and support for the local mountain biking community here on the shore, but also of their team's unparalleled planning, labor, and perseverance. So a big round of applause for the North Shore Bike Park, please. Okay, so my message of two ideas. Last year I stood before you with a message of ambition for the big plans that we had for the years ahead, and a message of gratitude for the people who are working toward that goal. And while my appreciation for the NSMBA staff and volunteers has only increased over the past year, I offer two related ideas that I think will preoccupy the NSMBA for 2024. The first is focus, and the second is the idea of commitment. We ratified our strategic plan in 2022. It had been a great deal of time and effort to get that up and running in the first place. It is a broad document with 3 pillars: financial resilience, community impact, and responsible land use. Within categories are objectives and goals, each with their own action items. Beyond our oriented schemes, the staff and the board are perpetually confronted with situations and decisions that must be reconciled with reference to that plan. Quite simply, there is too much to do. We have a 5-year plan with a multitude of objectives. It's going to take years to achieve them, and many are at any sort of completion. As an organization, the NSMBA is going to have to prioritize our human and financial resources on some goals at the temporary exclusion of others so that we can be effective. Second idea is commitment. Commit or eat dirt is a variation on another expression that we use frequently when you're riding on the trails. Of opinions. On a daily basis, our staff and board members receive feedback from the public, from industry, from our own volunteers, and some are stressed my NSMBA inbox than walking into a courtroom and running a trial. When a decision to focus on one objective, those who value another goal or mission or don't appreciate how our actions might advance or complement another goal or mission may be disheartened, and that isn't necessarily their fault. It might be our inability to explain or extrapolate exactly what we're doing. The commitment also articulated recently as hesitation equals devastation by one Wade Simmons on a podcast I was listening to. It refers to the notion that when you're riding certain features at a point in time, there is a point of no return. You need to commit or you're going to lose control and wreck yourself. The is going to need to commit courageous in focusing on specific goals, knowing that we have made our decisions thoughtfully. This doesn't mean ignoring or rebuffing criticism or suggestions we receive.
It means remaining committed to the plans we have constructed, confident that we have made good decisions, even if alternative paths were available. We need to know what people think. We need to care what people think. But once we've chosen a path, if we abandon it and double back at the behest of varying opinions, we won't get anywhere. This longer-term development, as I mentioned, a greater need for transparency about what we're doing, how we plan to do it, and where we're at in the process. We need to recognize that we're never going to arrive at any static notion of success. We need to keep striving toward improvement. So consider this AGM a check-in, and we will aim to keep you better informed in the future. I'd like to now take some time to introduce you to our board of directors, to our volunteers, to our staff. Kat Enns, you're going to hear from, rad human being who has committed countless hours over the past 3 years to managing our finances and is generally a very thoughtful contributor to all board issues that we have. Illyri Harris stepped up, volunteering in our very become the vice president of the board. Regrettably can't be here tonight because she's in Antarctica, which is awesome. Kevin Johnstone, for over 10 years, acted in the important but secretary for the past year, and is a passionate advocate for builders and all things Cyprus during our board meetings and elsewhere. Ben, re-election tonight, the most board member that we have now, has been a strong advocate for decolonialization, developing a relationship with local First Nations, and is also a software engineer who has plans to migrate our website to a more modern and flexible platform this year. It's a job that he wants to finish, and so that's why he's coming back, amongst other things. All connected within the mountain biking community, brings a down-to-earth and rational approach to complicated issues that we have during our many board meetings, and we'd like to have him do some data analysis to give us a more comprehensive and understanding, a more comprehensive understanding of present trail use on the shore through a variety of different means. And Steve Bourne, unfortunately can't be here tonight. Very busy professional with a busy and complicated family life. His experience as an employment and labor lawyer proved invaluable to the association over the past 2 years. He provided us with guidance and support on a myriad number of human resources issues that arise as the NSMBA grows and becomes a more professional institution. Rob Donovan, also tonight, second year on the board, standing builder on Middle and Upper Griffin and the Baden-Powell, brings a very positive and supportive voice to the boardroom, always the first to volunteer his evenings and weekends to marshal a five or help out at an event. And Steve Leonis ran for the board in 2021, and he wasn't elected, but he got back in touch with us on his own accord and started volunteering an unreasonable amount of time and his expertise into business administration and marketing, and then ran successfully last year. And he's curious, enthusiastic, he's dedicated, and has made substantial contributions to the budgeting process for this upcoming year, about which you'll hear a great deal tonight. Meet our trail team. I don't think I really need to introduce Todd Digger-Fiander, but suffice it to say, nobody cares more about Frome than Digger does. Sarah, wearing 2 hats. Last year was the trail crew lead. This year came into her director role. She's been out there slinging dirt, managing and directing the trail crew and the volunteers doing the critical work to keep our trails running. She attends all of the meetings with our land managers, plans out the trail crew projects, and keeps everything in an organized fashion, and has been also the driving force behind the WTNB, Women's Trans Non-Binary Dig Series, which was a marvelous event, or series of events, and a great success. Marcus Van Heist, aka Mingus, Johnny on the spot, moves all the dirt, raw, his partner in crime, Bishop Carrasquera, Trail Digger. They helped revitalize Dreamweaver this year, and amongst other equally important but less obvious trail riding experience on Frome and Seymour better. And last but not least, for the trail team, Daniel Shaw, Henry Fitzgerald, day in, day out, hauling dirt and rocks on Les Lumpy in Cambodia. They executed a mammoth trail prescription in record time and in extremely difficult conditions this past epic work, and unfortunately for us, Daniel's moved on to SRAM, but we're very thankful that Henry's sticking around on our trail crew for the time being. To the heart of our staff, Deanne, our executive director, does everything, implementing the overall strategic direction of the organization, managing staff, meeting with land managers, builders, reviewing contracts, writing grants, organizing events, volunteering at every single Five-Earn event, liaising with stakeholders and human resources. This whole organization runs by and through her. Stephanie Taylor, staff this year diligently took the Fivers on top of her administrative work and support for us. Going into 2024, we are excited to have her take on more responsibility and help the NSMBA advance its equality, diversity, and inclusivity efforts through education and community connections to other great organizations. Sarah, aka Snacks, newest member of the team, role, partnership and events manager. She's already executed a number of tasks that have been on the NSMBA to-do list for years, including revitalizing aspects of our trail adoption TAP program. And Sarah shortly and hear about her work from her herself. Gareth Critcher took over the spring as our and has developed an epic agenda for the marketing and promotion of membership, merchandise, community programming. Again, you'll hear from him later this evening, and along with Snacks are probably the most lovely people that you'll meet here tonight. And Ethan, exceptionally talented cinematographer and photographer who documented all of our events this year, managed our social media channels, and has set up this entire event and that insane table of wires and electronic equipment over there that the people in person can see. So big thank you to all of those people. Couple more thanks here. James Brooks, after 8 years of dedication to ensure our payroll is processed, checks are written, bills are paid, taxes are in on time, James graciously handed over his duties to our new bookkeeper, Miranda. Thanks to all the director candidates who are here tonight, who have offered to step up and serve your community. They deserve commendation irrespective of whatever the outcome is of the election tonight, and anybody who isn't does what Steve Leonis did and reaches back out to us. We have a fabulous slate of candidates tonight, all who have something different and unique to bring, and we just only have so many rooms on the board itself. Last but not least, we have off the trail. They're writing work reports, walkthroughs with land managers. They're doing training to ensure that they can operate chainsaws. They are sitting on fire watch for hours at a time after they've shoveled some dirt to make sure that no sparks light from, clanging the metal against their rocks. Coordinating with us for trail day work reports. They're out there in all of the conditions, and they are the ones who are taking the time away from their work and families and their own riding. These are the people that our association exists to support. We're here to try and help them realize their vision on the trails. So thank you to all the builders from Frome. Woo! A big thank you to all the builders on Seymour. And last but not least, a big thank you to all the Cypress builders, all three of them, at least on our Cypress Seas sanctioned trails. These guys, three of them, they work in a very unique fashion, just three of them on any of the trails that need some work, and managed to pull off a number of really impressive trail days and get a whole lot of work done. And a special thanks as well to Alan Bardsley, who continues to help advocate for us with the land managers on Cypress. So, yeah, thanks. Speaking that I'm going to do tonight, I'd like to turn it over to Kat Enns for a review of our financial situation.
Thank you, Jimmy. Hi, everybody. My name's Kat, and I've been your treasurer for the last 3 years. I came onto the board at a really interesting time and have had the huge privilege of being able to each year come up here and tell you that we're doing very well. Financially, that I just feel really privileged to have been here during this time. Thanks to all of you, because you are a huge part of that. That finances isn't everyone's favorite piece, but I will jump right in. Oh no. Okay. No, it's not talk through every single number. I've given you and 2 years many numbers. So is cash line at the top, and so it's a very B. But let's rewind. Sitting here with 4 is a very things were feeling very tight, made to restrict. So 2021 saving real surplus. 2021 that bottom I kind of want you to look at is or net profit. I want to remind you that as a nonprofit, our goal is not to earn a ton of money. It is not to sit on a ton of money. It is to reinvest in our community and our trails. So 2021 were huge, pulled back really hard, up this big surplus. So at the end of that year, we're sitting with 320. We were really comfortable. So it was time to start letting it loose a little bit, investing and, going back to a bit of a normal. So you see that expense line creep up, which is totally 2021. It was restricted. And we ended it's a net neutral number. It's about 13,000 in the bank, no problems. Then in 2020, and we say we still have so much money, it's time to invest. It's time to be ambitious. It's time to grow. For anyone here who knows how anything works, you have to pay for the thing up front and get returns later. So mountain bike the trails for the next 5 years. And in that same way, we've been investing in our community, in our operations team and our trails team specifically, to on what we know the NSMBA can become. So a loss of $117,000, because if you look back up at that cash line, we still have time, and this is not a planning to continue. It's our investment year. So I'll jump now. Now. Why? No, go back, please. Okay. Statement of operations, just to give you like where the NSMBA has that much money and where is it going? Very simple answer. It's all of the people that Jimmy just talked about. We're a very simple organization in the sense that we don't have that much to spend on other than people. We put on events, we build trails, we manage all our sponsorships, etc. You name it, we're doing it with people. The rest of it's, you know, and a little bit of supplies and a chunk of insurance, that kind of thing, putting on events. But really, all of our expenses are on people. And this year we had a little bit of turnover from life events, and we made the choice to hire had more experience, more knowledge, and we did that very strategically. We have big plans for where we're going, and we're very comfortable with what's coming. But to do that, we had to spend money. So the revenue side is pretty, like, it's going to grow, but rather than kind of let you just sit here and look at numbers, because they're kind of the same year over year, a little bit of growth. Go to my next one. Yeah, okay. Yeah. The circle charts, right? And this is just to show you from and what it's made up of, and also to show you how diverse it is. We have a lot of different places that our money comes from, meaning that if tomorrow the DNV decided to turn off our contract with them, we have a lot of places to build that back up. You know, if one sponsorship decides to walk away, fill that blank. So we're in a confident position with the way our revenue is diversified. The two things I'll point out, the light blue is the raffle. That obviously didn't happen in 2023, but we are planning to do that again in 2024. And then the dark blue is our events. So just kind of your favorite thing likely is the Fivers or our other many events that we put on. Those aren't random for us. Those are community building events that we are happy to do. And what do we need to have with people? So that's kind of why we need to run these other programs and other, you know, all of that to afford to make those events bigger and better for you guys. Now, the final piece is the orange, the kind of lighter orange, or no, darker orange, not the brown, to show you what you, that's our membership. And I think we forget that it's not just a membership, it's our revenue, and we hope that it will continue to grow. We want our community, we want our organization to be bigger, and you know, just the education to get it out there, because all of you are contributing in massive ways, and it's just with memberships. So big thank you to all of you and all of our sponsors and all of everyone else in between who do so much, be able to reinvest in our organization the way that we want to. So thank you.
Right on. Hi folks, for the intro, my name is Gareth. I am the marketing manager. I am new to Canada, I'm new to the NSMBA, but I'm not new to bikes. I've been lifelong obsessed with bikes and trails for many years. I spent the past 13 years working in the bike industry across various different roles in marketing, and I'm excited to join the NSMBA and see what we can do. I made my own mistake and I pushed to the next slide far too early, so member stats. As Kat rightly pointed out, membership accounts for a huge portion of our kind of investment. Our latest stats are, for the year, 3,148 members, which is the most members the NSMBA has ever had in our entire record of being. So I think that's worth a round of applause. We do have big goals. We are aiming for the 5,000 number. but it's built with strategy. And I've worked really hard over the past few months putting in a budget forecast and putting out plans to deliver on where we hope to be in the following year. So aiming at 4,000 members in 2024 and up to 5,000 in 2025. The North Shore is really special. I'm not sure if it's just because I'm not from here or if I'm new to the area, but riding bikes here is special. The network, the infrastructure, the community, there's everything that's entwined is unique. And to mountain bikers around the world, North Shore means something. So it's a lot more than just woodwork, but anywhere in the world where people ride bikes, if there is woodwork on the trail, that is North Shore to a lot of people. And that influence carries us globally, and I think, you know, the NSMBA and the trail organization as it stands is influential to many, many people. Coming to the NSMBA, my goals are, oh, did I go too far? Did I go too far? Back? No, I did, it was right. I messed up my own slide, so I'll press it again. Membership and trail boosts are super important. As we said, they would take up a huge amount of our revenue. For this year, we actually grew our trail boosts. So 601 trail boosts for the year, that's $17,000, and that's $5,000 more than we had last year. So moving on, our membership goals for 24, as I just said, we are aiming to hit 4,000 members, which will bring us in a goal revenue of 167,000. We're going to do this via multiple marketing, wonderful methods, but digital marketing, community and events marketing, and promoting ourselves across all channels. Finally, we're going to be looking to promote our new member model that we've just released, which includes membership for trail builders and riders and trail builders, and hikers and trail runners as well. And then finally, we're going to be looking to increase our marketing and our communications across all levels and putting the trails first and really promoting the organization as best we can. So yeah, my only goal is to try and grow the organization aligned with our strategic goals. I'm really keen to have feedback, and if there's anything that you'd like to see or any feedback you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it from you. That's about it for marketing messages. I will introduce you to Sarah, our partnerships and events.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm a little shorter. I'm Sarah. Many of you know me as Snacks. I'm the new partnership and events manager at NSMBA. I'm only 4 months deep into this role, so I'm still pretty fresh. But one thing that I can say is that I'm so grateful to be on stage here tonight and to be working with such a vibrant community. Whether it's our partners, our builders, our staff, our board, or the broader community, I'm blown away by how engaged, enthusiastic, and purpose-driven this group is. Thank you for being here today and being part of the work we do to ensure the trails are in tip-top shape. All right, can I do it? Yay! Okay. A huge thank you to all of our 2023 TAP partners. We could not be keeping the trails in great shape without you. So I just wanted to, yes, we should clap about that as well. A couple of fun facts that I wanted to share that's in our good old new partnership deck. So we hold 19 out of the top 100 mountain bike trails in the world based on Trail Forks, which is amazing. 3 in the top 10, Bobsled, Expresso, and 7th are in there. I just want to, and again, like we can't do that without our TAP partners and all of you, so thank you for that. We also, next. Thank you, Gareth. We also could not do that without our in-kind donors and our general donation people as well. So again, thanks for all of our partners being here tonight, and for everyone else who's helped out with Fivers, who have donated through our website, all of those different people. We can't be in this community without them, so thank you. Yeah. So a couple of TAP program stats. We have 27 trail adopting partners, which is amazing. We have 32 trails adopted, so a few of those partners have adopted multiple trails. 42 builders, and 117 trail days last year. That's 45 more than 2022. So that's amazing. And we also brought in $123,000 worth of revenue through the TAP program last year. And some of the projects I just wanted to highlight through that program. So through the Fox Trail Trust, Cypress Builders hosted at least 17 public trail days last year, and an additional 4 projects completed by the crew over the past year. And again, I mean, as you saw, there were 3 builders on Cypress, so that's huge, massive. They've been responsible for at least 1,000 volunteer hours alone, and the trail experiences on Jersey Shore, Meat Sweats, and Morgies is next level. If you haven't ridden there, it's super fun. Yes, very fun. Steed Crew. The Steed crew helped Gordon and Sarah keep Pennzoil and Lower Espresso running so amazing at this year. Obsession and Sombrio helped Trevor out on Floppy Bunny, and with some added love from the trail crew, Floppy is in the best shape it's ever been and more accessible to all riders. The Met crew came out a number of times, and if you haven't been on Espresso on one of their days, it's always a blast. They do a great trail day. And Brent, Cynthia, and Endless have put a ton of work on the Griffins with all the kid programs that they work on. So again, huge shout out to the TAP program. All right, our partnership package coming into 2024. This looks a little bit different than it has in the past. So I just wanted to highlight a few key notes on why we kind of changed things up. First thing, we haven't touched our partnership package in about a decade. So it was about time. Things have changed. A lot of things have happened in the past 10 years. With our new partnership package, we open up our possibilities and create sustainability for the future. So having more accessible options like the lichen and fern packages allows folks to come in where they are at and still contribute to the trails in a way that feels comfortable and meaningful to them. And then we have our cedar, soil, granite, and fungi packages, which they also include our TAP program, to allow for bigger collaborations and broader impact. Through these, we can see growth opportunities for things like mountain bike festivals, different programming, and as well, many events. So the TAP entry has increased from $3,000 to $5,000 based on the following. So like I said, we haven't changed things in quite a while, and there's been inflation over the years. So things like tools, labor, admin, and operational costs has increased. We've had a lot more severe weather and increased user base. So more wear and tear on the trails, more work needs to get done. And we've also grown our reach and influence through our memberships, our social media, our newsletters, and overall community engagement. So we have a lot more to offer. Gareth, thank you. All right, in 2023, we had an amazing year of events. And again, thank you to everyone who came out to them. It was a pretty awesome spot, an awesome place to be. We've had an awesome turnout at 10 fivers, a season opener, and we had a social challenge, social badger challenge, and then a few other events throughout 2023. This was the first year we opened up our casual and women trans non-binary fiver series, which we saw great success in. Yeah, woo! We also hosted a 4-week social badger challenge in the spring, partnered with North Shore Crisis Service Society to raise awareness and funds for the amazing work they do in providing safe and secure shelter to abused women and their children here on the North Shore. Full disclosure, that was before I came on, and I just wanted to shout out Deanne did a huge and a lot of work in regards to that, so clap on that. Yeah. I wanted to share a quote from Sandra Lee from the North Shore Service Crisis Society, and she shared with us after the Break the Cycle campaign that we did with them. Thanks, Gareth. I met someone who heard about Break the Cycle and NSMBA's role in the campaign. As a rider who identified as women, trans, non-binary, it meant a lot to them to see an established organization like the NSMBA promote women, trans, non-binary rides because they're usually alley cat events, and it's rare to see. This representation was very powerful and so positive to them. It was also rare for them to see such localized support from similar organizations. Having NSMBA be the main supporter for a cause that they thought was important to both riders and the wider community really made an impact. I also wanted to share that we donated just under $2,000 to the North Shore Crisis Service Society this past year, thanks to both the women trans non-binary fivers and the merch sold that we partnered with them on. We worked with a local female designer to create some incredible merchandise that we sold at these events and on their website. So, again. Woo! Thank you. All right, a huge thanks to our Fiverr partners, again, for coming on board, some at the last minute. So, again, thank you. And they opened their doors to a large number of group of people, so thanks. This year was my first time experiencing the Fivers, and honestly, I was blown away. I've been working in events for almost a decade, and the Fiverr community is amazing. It's so cool to see so many people come out with smiles and just ripping up the trails. It's pretty awesome. We also couldn't have done it without our volunteers, so thank you for being on the course, sweeping the last riders, and ensuring the safety on the trails. And thank you to, again, Ethan, who's captured many beautiful photos. If you haven't seen his photography and videos, it's amazing, that we'll be using for years to come. So over the 2023 season, we had, no, we're good, thank you. Oh wait, no, yes, you can go next. Thank you. Oh wait, yes. No, back, please. Yes, we're good. Sorry, technical difficulties, AKA my brain. Okay, over the 2023 season, we had over 10 Fivers, so 2 women trans non-binary, 2 casuals, 4 classics, 1 learn to Fiver, and then 1 youth Fiver as well. And with that, we had 320 volunteer hours, 971 riders, 30% of those were women, and 10% of them were juniors. Woo! Get a little sneak peek into 2024. All right, so coming into 2024, I'm super stoked about this lineup. We have some amazing events in the pipeline. I also just wanted to remind everyone, like Kat kind of mentioned earlier, so our events are really, we have 3 main goals. 1, to raise awareness and build our membership. 2, to fundraise and raise money so we can put money back into the trails. And 3 is to celebrate our community. So as we love bringing people out, we have a sweet lineup for next year. We have a challenge coming in February. I'm just gonna say that, and then if you have questions, and will be a little bit of a mic drop in January. So it's exciting, it's gonna be really fun. We also have some workshops in March. We have a season opener again in April. We have 11 different Fivers this year. So 1 learn to Fiver, 2 youth, 2 women trans non-binary again, and 2 casuals, we're bringing those back. We also have our 4 classic Fivers. We also have some social rides attached to the women trans non-binary and casual Fivers to help break down barriers even more. And we'll be working with different community partners to be able to come and session the trails ahead of time. And we are bringing back our 20 Fiver again. So that's super exciting. And that's 2024. Again, like Gareth said, I'm super open to feedback, opinions, questions. If you have anything, feel free to come and ask me later or shoot me an email. I'm happy to chat. But for now, I'd like to introduce Deanne for trails.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Deanne, if you haven't met me. So great to see everybody out. Thanks to Sarah and Gareth and Jimmy and Kat for speaking ahead of me. I just wanted to start with a really big thank you to every single person who came out in 2023 to lend a hand out on the trails, whether it was at a trail day, just by draining some puddles when you're out on a ride with your buddies, or submitting a report on trail forks. Every little contribution like that helps us maintain this world-class trail system that we have, and we absolutely couldn't do it without you. So just going over some of our stats for 2023, it's pretty impressive again this year. Over 8,000 hours, volunteer hours were logged. That also includes our Fiver volunteers, time that's been put in by our board of directors, all the work that they've done, as well as the hours that have been logged out on the trails. As Sarah mentioned, 117 public trail days, over 1,500 volunteers came out to help dig alongside the builders. 500 of those were first-time volunteers, which is always rad to see. And we had over 350 youth come out in 2023. So, 2023, let's start with some of our trail updates. This is obviously not an exhaustive list of all of the work that has been done out on the mountains this year. I would love to tell you all every single bucket of dirt that's been thrown, but we would never get out of here. I do want to acknowledge and say how much we appreciate all of the work that's been put in by the builders. And here are just a few of the highlights from all three of our mountains. We're going to start with Cambodia, because we've had lots of questions about Cambodia through the info through our personal inboxes, what's going on, when's it going to open, and everything in between. So here's a bit of a breakdown, so everybody's on the same page. So Metro, a few years back, hired Lees & Associates in Imba, Canada, to come out and write a prescription for the trail work that was going to be required to bring the trail up to their trail standards, as well as bring the main line to a black diamond level. Just like CBC, the main line is single black. However, there are still the optional double black features. Without this prescribed work being completed, the trail would not have been brought into the sanctioned network. And the NSMBA didn't take on the work. It would have been put out to tender for another trail contractor to take on. The NSMBA saw it as a great opportunity to prove to Metro that our builders are super talented, and we really wanted to ensure that we could have our flavor on the trail. Some of the initial work started in late 2022, but the project really kicked off at the end of April of this year by the dynamic trail do of Daniel and Henry. Regular check-ins were had by Metro staff as well as our trail crew and staff. And just to ensure that we were meeting any of the requirements that were laid out in the prescription, as well as making sure that we were staying on track with the project all in all. The small forest fire on Seymour this summer, super scary, but it did halt our operations just for a few days, thankfully. And the continued dry summer conditions really forced us to close the trail down until the proper moisture returned and they could complete the work. So when will it officially open? There's a few minor projects that are left to complete, ensuring the drainage is adequate, and a large bridge needs to be installed at the top of Les Lumpy, and we're hoping to have that installed, or Metro is hoping to have that installed in spring of 2024. So once that bridge is officially in, then we'll be able to open the trail to the public and bring it into the sanctioned network. I just wanted to mention too, we just want to acknowledge and appreciate the magnitude of the success of this project. For a land manager to recognize a value in an unsanctioned trail, make recommendations, and for the organization to have this opportunity to complete the work and bring it into the network is huge. I'd also like to recognize the funders that were involved with this project. So SRAM was our top sponsor on Cambodia, and continues to be, thank you very much. We also used Canada Summer Jobs Grant in order to pay the trail crew, funding from the BC Gaming Grant, and of course, our members, as some of your membership dollars also helped to make this project happen. Other work that happened on Seymour this year, obviously, opening a brand new trail. Hello, Cabin Fever, has anybody ridden that? It is fan-frickin-tastic. So Martin and Neil worked tirelessly to create another epic masterpiece up there, so that was incredible. Penny over on Dales with North Shore Ride, they put in a bunch of work over there. Pangor got another new reroute on a really old icky section that was super wet. Corkscrew Bridge, which that got wrecked by a super big tree, was rebuilt by Penny and Dave pretty quickly, I might add too. Pingu got a gap jump, woohoo! Slash is getting a new exit, and well, at least the upper portion of Empress Bypass was running great this year. Over on Frome, of course, tons of projects happening over there. The complete update to Dreamweaver, so thanks to Peter Reed and the Arcteryx team for the lower section. The DNV crew collaborated with our trail crew to tackle the upper section. Michael Stormer was working, or just completed, he just sent me an email yesterday, completed some reroutes on Lower Oil Can. That's now open and ready to ride. Andy Fisher, of course, finished up his incredible Megasaurus project. Work Wednesdays, hosted by Trevor, kept Lower Digger, Dempsey, and Bobsled running super great. Old Man Pete, our global BC superstar, of course, continues to work tirelessly to keep the climb trail in stellar condition. And Brent and Cynthia, as Sarah was mentioning, continue to herd all of the kids from Scouts, Embers, Cadets, elementary schools, and the endless summer campers to keep our Lower Frome trails in tip-top shape. Over on Cypress, another big breakthrough this year, we finally broke ground on the new climb trail in July. We contracted out to Rare Earth to help with the machine work because it has to be a machine-built trail. It will be a hiking, bidirectional, and mountain bike climbing trail when it's completed. The first approximately 1 kilometer has been roughed in, and it's likely we'll have to stop fairly soon because the weather conditions are starting to, not be so great. But once the snow is melted, they're going to get back up there. They're going to continue the construction. We're hoping to have that completed in late 2024. And that project is entirely funded by the District of West Vancouver and British Pacific Properties. However, we will start to look for a partner soon so we can start to host some work parties to complete finishing work and replanting work in the area. So lots going on in 2023. 2024, upcoming. What's coming up this year? So the builders are currently working on submitting their work plans, so there's still lots of projects that are trickling in, but there's a couple that we already have slated. So we're going to be working with Mark Rowe on Salvation to do a full overhaul of the trail and get it reopened in 2024. Helping Tom Frank on Forever After to complete a project to bring the trail to a blue. And I'll touch on this a little bit more in the advocacy section, but we're optimistic that Empress Bypass will get a proper machine revamp in 2024, fingers crossed. The team on Pipeline, I've heard, is another rad TTF in the works to replace an old decrepit one that's pretty much rotted out. And we're back on the permit for CBC. So once Dream Wizards completes their spring tune-up on the trail, we'll be able to get in there and start doing some more maintenance work on CBC. On the admin side of things as well, there's going to be some other cool things happening. We now have a nonprofit access to ArcGIS, and Sarah is working on getting set up to handle work reports and work plans through the new system, so we're going to be rolling that out through 2024. Snacks is also creating a huge list of preferred suppliers for trail days to ensure that each and every public trail day has food and beverages and swag for the volunteers, and there's a consistent experience across any and all of our trail days that we're hosting. So ton of work that's coming down the pipeline for 2024 for trails. We're really excited. Advocacy. Advocacy is an ongoing process, and it looks a lot different than it did 25 years ago. It is a combination of a lot of really little things, like our regular monthly meetings that we host with our land managers, the on-site walkthroughs that we go through with them as well. It means digging together, attending local community events, as well as attending big picture provincial strategic planning sessions. All of these things that we're doing in the background, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, are just helping to advance our advocacy work. We're working in a much better way than we did decades ago, and please know that absolutely we are advocating for new trails every single chance that we get with our land managers. That has not changed. That is the one thing we're going to continue to advocate for, is access to new trails for the ridership within the networks that make sense. So advocacy work is woven into our day-to-day actions with our land managers, and we've learned that we just need to be patient, we need to be empathetic, and it doesn't have to be loud and angry. So I'll give you a quick little update on all of the stuff that's been happening behind the scenes in advocacy. So starting, we'll go west to east this time. District of West Vancouver, we now have a fully signed ongoing agreement with the District of West Vancouver, which is very similar to the other agreements we have in place with other land managers for maintenance on the trails on Cypress. We continue to attend stakeholder meetings with British Pacific Properties and regarding their future Cypress Village development, advocating for broader systems planning to account for the influx of users, as well as accommodation of pre-existing trails that overlap with their plans. They've already made some significant changes to their plan based on previous feedback, which has saved some existing trails, so our time and advocacy efforts continue to benefit the Cypress Network. We've also been invited to present to the District of West Vancouver Council in January of 2024 as part of their yearly update from community stakeholders. This will be the first time we get to speak in front of their council. Looking forward to that. District in North Vancouver, with the Natural Areas Trail Strategy, which is guiding the planning and management of recreational trail on their lands, we continue to advocate and participate in the entire process we have since day one, providing extensive feedback on all of the drafts and all of the priorities that they have presented. Their plan will be presented to the District of North Van Council in the next few months, and once approved, we'll be working very closely with the DNV Park staff on many of the priority items, including the Seymour Areas Trail Plan. Grouse, well, this isn't really advocacy work, but I'll like to share the news anyway. I was able to connect with their staff to chat about the new bike park that's going in. Yes, Grouse is getting lift access downhill. Mountain biking trails should be opening in 2025 once the new gondola project is finished. The trails will be entirely on Grouse land and on either side of the lift that you see when you're driving up the highway, and they will not link into the lower network in any way. So it's going to be completely self-contained. They're aiming for about 10 kilometers of trails initially, and they're being constructed by Gravity Logic. They're the contractor that's been hired to do the work. Metro Vancouver, the Lower Seymour Conservation Reserve. Of course, we've been working super closely with them this year on the Cambodia project. We've received positive feedback from Metro on our response and actioned when the forest fire sparked over there this summer. They were really appreciative of our push out on socials to tell folks to stay away and reporting in on the safety of the trail crew, of course. And let's hope we never have to face another situation like that, knock on wood. There is currently a survey. I think we've sent it out, the survey? Not quite. There's a survey coming out probably later this week. Metro would like to know people's thoughts and ideas on the lands, you know, in that general zone. What trails would you like to see brought into the network? So we're going to be sending that around. We'll be pushing it out through email and socials. So it's completely anonymous. They don't want to know who's responding. They just want to hear from riders who love the area, what they would like to see happen next in that zone. So where like Ned's and Cambodia and all of those trails are. Rec Sites and Trails BC. So the ongoing Recreation Access Management Plan is still in play. It's still undergoing First Nations consultations, and we were told very recently that we should have an update within the next couple of months. I heard from our Rec Sites and Trails officer, Daniel, today, and he said, yes, it should be coming up pretty quickly. And, you know, they're still getting rid of all the explosive stuff down in Blair Range. You know, that hasn't changed either. BC Parks. I touched on this earlier around Empress Bypass. So another group that has seen a huge amount of staff turnover in the past year or so. We've been connected with the new parks manager, and we have now officially signed a 5-year partnership agreement for maintenance of Empress Bypass, Fern Gully, and a small section of Bridle Path. So again, lots of documents that have been read and signed in the past year. Right on. All right. You get me for another few more slides, and then we get into elections. So strategic plan. So just to give you guys a quick update on where we are standing with our strategic plan. So around responsible land use, I guess I should start with this. As Jimmy was saying before, there are some big ideas here. There's some big goals that we are working towards. Sometimes we can take bigger steps towards these goals, and sometimes there's just little steps. So I just want to ensure, or just want to say that we are taking little steps every single year. So some years, you know, there's lots to report, and other years there isn't as many big things to report. So going into responsible land use, the priority of responsible land use reflects the work to lead the advocacy efforts, build community partnerships, and education to help expand our reach beyond just the mountain bike community. This year, we formed the Trails for All Committee with the Board of Directors with the proper terms of reference and consisting of directors, staff, and we're hoping to bring in some outside advisors as well to help drive our work around building relationships with local First Nation, changing bylaws to include specific diversity or equity goals, and continuing to connect with other local community groups. This year, I also started to work on our education strategy. That includes education for staff, for directors, for builders, and the general public. This strategy is still very much in its infancy, but the work has begun, and I look forward to tackling this further and creating a more solid strategy to launch by next year. Community impact, our priority around this is to be able to attract and retain a diverse group of people, builders, staff, board, and volunteers to help achieve our Trails for All vision. We have a lot of work left to do in this area. The Trails for All assessment tool. So earlier this year, the NSMBA was one of 10 organizations here in BC and Alberta to be chosen to take part in the Same Game Challenge. This was hosted by Canadian Women in Sport. The Same Game Challenge helped organizations across Canada build their capacity to create more equitable and inclusive sports opportunities. Luckily for us, they created the Gender Equity Lens, which is an inclusion tool, and it was already created. So it gave us an opportunity through the Same Game Challenge to expand our knowledge and implement the tool alongside other organizations as well as with a mentor coach to help us through it. The Gender Equity Lens is a tool, is something that we have continued access to, and with the support from the board's new Trails for All Committee, we'll be able to implement it on an ongoing basis and for all matters of diversity, not just gender equity, but anything across the board. In our continuing efforts with the People Development Plan, last year we really focused in on staff and all of the processes involved with hosting a roster of people. This year we're turning our attention to the board and to our volunteer builders. So, you know, whether it's having a proper onboarding, and for the new directors that are coming on, you're going to be our guinea pigs. We're going to test this out. We're going to get your feedback, and we're going to continue to grow that. So, you know, board of directors onboarding is a big deal. Around volunteer builders, I know there's been lots of questions about Trail Academy. And Trail Academy will not likely be returning in the form that it used to, you know, function as. We've had many discussions with previous staff members and board of director members and people who ran the program before, and we've decided that that doesn't necessarily fit with what our needs are now. And we're developing a new builder onboarding process which allows us to, it's going to be a lot less labor intensive when it comes to administration, but it's going to basically give a checklist of like, these are the things you need to do in order to become a builder with the NSMBA, and it gives somebody a clear map of what's going to happen. So that is still in development, but I feel pretty confident that it will get rolled out this year. And finally, financial resilience. So the priority of financial resilience includes securing a sustainable future for the NSMBA and planning ways to fund growth to ensure trails forever. So this year, Kat, Steve Leonis, one of the directors, and myself, we got to participate in the Thriving Nonprofit Program, which was run by Scale Collaborative through the West Vancouver Foundation. It was approximately 6 or 8 month course. I can't even remember now. It was felt like a lot longer than that. But basically looking at how nonprofits can look at the different types of revenue streams that they have in a more entrepreneurial way to augment their revenue and to be able to reinvest that ability. So it was and you heard Sarah speak about it earlier, reviewing our sponsorship package. And I just wanted to shout out that, Snacks has only been with us for 4 months, and she was able to roll that out before our fiscal year started on November 1st. So that was a tremendous amount of work that she took on the first 3 months of her new job, and I just want to give her a huge shout out for that. With memberships, as Gareth was also mentioning, We have a lot more data-driven. We're going to get there a little bit more organically and with data to back it up, so we understand how we're growing and in which ways. So it's going to be a little bit more strategic now. Apparel revenue, we're so fortunate to have the expertise of Gareth to help us develop more robust merchandise plan. We'll be rolling out a few new merch items in 2024 with the hopes of tweaking our processes and then launching something more substantial in 2025. And that's it for strategic plan stuff. So I think that brings us.
Similar format to previous years, we're going to have the candidates introduce themselves in 1-minute pre-recorded videos that will play here for you. The members are then voted in for acclamation to the 2024 Board of Directors on a candidate-by-candidate basis by marking the ballots. As I mentioned at the outset, this is by using the Membership 365 program, so hopefully you all have your phones or an internet connection and are ready to go with that. Just some basic information that you will probably already know, but board members are elected for 2-year terms, and we have it offset so that there's continuity and overlap, so we don't have a large number of directors vacate the board in 1 year and then have to replenish it for the following years. And similarly, the elections are to be placed on the board as a director at large. The roles are then assigned and ascribed after the fact, so nobody's being voted in as the president or the treasurer or the secretary, even if their skills might lend themselves to one role or another, and it allows people to do what it is that they want to do and what they're effective at. So we all have our own day jobs and might not want to spend our volunteer hours doing something that we do from 9 to 5. So with that, everybody get your phones or your computers ready, log into your membership, and get ready for that process. And what we'll do now is start introducing you to the candidates. So here we have a great roster of new folks coming up. Not quite sure what's funny over there, but hopefully it has nothing to do with me. The link for this, you got it? Thanks, brother.
Hello, my name is Ali Shafarsky, and I'm applying to be one of the board of directors members for NSMBA. I live next door in the unceded territories of the Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, and I learned to ride mountain bikes about 2 years ago now. Most recently, this past summer, I joined the organization Indigenous Women Outdoors and their mountain bike race team. Through IWO, I learned that representation in the mountain biking community and on the trails really matters, and it creates a safe space for you to be able to ride and advance your skills. I want to take this to the North Shore and to NSMBA's board of directors and create EDIA initiatives that really brings the safe trails and representation to the community. I also have a master's in business administration, which means I'm very comfortable in the overarching strategic leadership and direction that businesses should go, as well as brand advertising and making sure that the community is represented within the brand, in this case, NSMBA.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben. As you can see, it's a beautiful rainy day here on the North Shore. I've been on the NSMBA board for 4 years now, and I'm seeking re-election. In my day job, I'm a director of software engineering, and one of my goals for next year is to revamp the NSMBA website. It's long due an overhaul. I also want to continue working in improving accessibility to mountain biking for underrepresented groups. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks for your time. Board of Directors. Brief history, been mountain biking for about 30 years, started at sea in Alberta, moved to the North Shore in 2002, father of 2 daughters, and so now I would consider myself a retired racer and enduro dad with my kids' pride. And it's great to be able to support that, and I love the way that the trails have supported the growth experience community. Currently, I have a background in environmental sustainability and business and management, and work for BC Hydro, dealing with decarbonization and electrification of products, which I'm passionate about. So yeah, I'd love for you to consider me as a director nomination, and I'd love to give back to the community that has given me so much. Thanks for your time, and looking forward to talking to you soon. Bye now.
Hey everyone, my name's Colin, and I like riding bikes. Every time I'm out for a ride on the shore, I'm so grateful that we have these world-class trails right here in our backyard that anyone can go and ride for free. It's amazing. But I know that they're not actually free. There's a ton of work involved, which is why I'm applying to serve on the NSMBA Board of Directors. I'm ready to give back to the community that has already given so much to me. On the Board of Directors, I'm going to bring the same passion that I have for riding my bike. I'm motivated to keep the trails accessible for all, forever. Thanks so much. See you out there.
Kia ora koutou, I'm Ella. I'm a New Zealander, recently moved to Canada. Have been a outdoorsy adventure person for my whole life, but kind of fell into mountain biking as my main passion about 3 or 4 years ago. I'm an environmental educator. In my own time, I spend a lot of time outdoors, walking and biking, appreciating the forest and the rivers. As an environmental educator, I've done a lot of program planning and education, and I think that this would be really beneficial to contribute to the NSMBA board. I'm really good at planning events and have done events at lots of different scales, from 20 people up to about 1,000 people. Done a lot of collaborating with different team members and partners, local councils, landowners and Indigenous people, and I can bring that to the NSMBA board in the events that they do.
Hello NSMBA, my name is Grigory Loginov and I'm excited to apply to join the board of directors of the organization. I lived in North Vancouver since 2018 and been biking ever since in the area. My professional background lies in the areas of managerial consulting as well as business analytics, so I will be more than happy to help the organization out in the areas of financial management, operational efficiency, as well as having those strategic brainstorming sessions and decision making, whether it's internal or external. It's just great to see how much effort goes into maintaining and developing the network. So I would be very happy to donate a little bit of my time to that great cause and make our trails even better than they are now. Thank you.
Hey NSMBA, this is Rashid Nayel coming to you after a muddy gravel ride on a fine, wet North Vancouver evening. Respectfully thankful to be able to play on the unceded territories of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam First Nations, or Coastal First Nations. I come to you asking for your support in my application for directorship to the NSMBA for this upcoming year. A little bit about me: I came to Vancouver in 2007 and have been a resident and rider of the shore ever since. I spent 5 years as director and treasurer of the NSMBA between 2010 and 2016, at which time we welcomed our first son and I had to step away. Now we have 3 kids, and my youngest is 5 and ripping the shore, loving roadside attraction. My eldest is riding bobsled, and I want to be back and part of this amazing organization. Thanks for your support, and I appreciate you all.
Hey everybody, I'm Raj Brar, and despite being from Vancouver, I only recently discovered the North Shore mountain biking trails after moving back to the city in 2020, and I haven't looked back since. Like a lot of you folks, every time I'm out there on the trails, I can't help but think how lucky we are to have such a world-class trail system in our own backyard. But at the end of the day, I know that luck doesn't really have much to do with it. So I started thinking about how I could give back to the community. And after reading the NSMBA strategic report, I realized that my professional background, along with some of my past volunteer experiences and just my general stoke for riding, might be able to help advance some of the key objectives within the report and help ensure that we can keep riding these trails forever. So just briefly, a little bit about myself. I am a chartered professional accountant. I have been for the last 10 years, and I've been lucky enough to use the skill set for organizations in both a professional setting and in a volunteer setting, where I've taught financial literacy courses, helped provide strategic and financial advice for year-end reporting, and also just helped with general fundraising activities. There's so much that I'd love to talk about with what we could do with the North Shore and how I can contribute. With 60 seconds, I'm going to leave it at that, and I hope to see folks on the trail.
Hi everyone, my name is Richard Grimes, and I would love to be a part of the NSMBA Board of Directors, and here is why. 1. I am an avid mountain biker and do spend a lot of time on the trails on the North Shore. I would love to be a part of this association so that I can give back to the mountain bike community. 2. I am an HR professional with over 15 years of experience. I would love to be able to share my knowledge with the board in all aspects of HR. 3. I am the father of an adaptive mountain biker and have spent countless hours in the trails viewing them from the perspective of a person with a disability. I would love to be able to share my experiences and knowledge in this the board to help build trails for all. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you.
I'm Rob Donovan, and this is the Rob Donovan Report. I'm running for the 2024 NSMBA Board of Directors. You might recognize me from the guy with the clipboard on construction sites or NSMBA Survivors or Trail Days. My day-to-day job is a project manager, and I want to make sure things on construction sites go smoothly. I'm also an NSMBA trail builder, so I want to make sure your trails go smoothly as well. When I started with the board 2 years ago, I had goals to make sure that we have more trails, better relationships with land managers, and improve the quality of NSMBA events. These are still my goals, and I've got more work to do. What I think the NSMBA needs is people who are passionate about giving back to the community and have a good sense of what's going on in the trails. I've got more work to do, and if you vote for me, you'll give me the chance to continue to do so. See you on the trails.
Okay, so now I think it is time to log into the Membership 365 and start the voting. The window is going to be open for 20 minutes, thereabouts. And once you get logged in and register your votes, then grab a drink and hang out, and then we'll be back in no time at all. Okay. There's also dessert in the corner near the sushi bar. Shout out Stong's Market. everybody. I think we're ready to announce the winners of the election. So come back up here and hang out for a moment. Okay, everybody, thank you for taking the time to participate in this democratic process. I would like to welcome to the board of directors, Ali Shaparsky, Ben, welcome back, Ella Walmsley, Rashid Nail, Raj Brar, and Robin Donovan. Thank you and welcome. It's all very exciting. I do want to reiterate something that I've said expressly and something that has been implied throughout the rest of the preceding meeting, which is that there is a lot of work to do, and anybody who wasn't elected tonight, please reach out to us, and you all have something to contribute. So we do look forward to working with you in the future and other members of the community as well. We're so fortunate to have such a broad wealth of knowledge and skills and interests amongst our membership in the Lower Mainland. And so if you've got something that you want to work on, just get in touch with us and we'll see if we can find the right project or person to pair you up with. We are now moving into one of the final areas of the evening, which is the question and answers. So the floor is yours. I don't know, do we have a microphone to pass around? In case we need one. Okay. Anybody have any questions here? What the fuck? I didn't hear anything.
So good looking.
God damn it, Sarah. Don't make me blush and make it all the way through this. I see a very important person has his hand up. Go easy on me, Matt.
So as the NSMBA grows into a larger and larger organization and takes on more staff roles for different areas that are not specifically related to its charitable purpose of delivering trail improvements and sustaining the ecology of the North Shore, how is the board measuring those investments from like a metric standpoint to see how the investment into those additional staff resources is going to pay off over time?
Probably the easiest way to consider it is, well, one, we do have a larger trail crew this year. We were able to keep on Daniel and Henry, and Daniel unfortunately is moving on to bigger and better things at SRAM, but we still do have one additional trail crew member with us. The way to measure it is through, I think, measurement tools. You could probably tell from the presentation this year that we're doing a much, maybe not a better job, because obviously I haven't been around as long as yourself and Cooper and other predecessors of mine, but we are trying to keep track of statistics and hours and count all of the work in various ways that goes into it. So that's, you know, we hope to have the metrics to actually measure these things. But ultimately, we aren't trying to staff up for the purpose of staffing up or grow just for its own sake. The notion is that we are able to grow so that we can accomplish more goals. And so with investing in marketing and events and partnership staff, you'll notice that the expenses this year in salaries are much larger than they were in the past, but as you've also seen, those are the people who are going to create revenue for us that will allow us to stabilize the baseline of income so that in years going forward, the work that they have to do is less, and the resources and the financial resources particularly can go to trail crew on a permanent basis for Seymour, more staff and trail crew for Cypress, and more support for the builders generally speaking. And then hopefully, pardon me, the actual number of hours of trail days, volunteer hours, and all of those statistics will climb accordingly. So that's part of the the message that I wanted to send out earlier is that we've, when we announced that we had new staff, for example, there was some pushback on our social media channels saying, like, why does the NSMBA need marketing staff? They need people with shovels in their hands, and it's our staff like Sarah and Gareth who are going to allow us to hire those people eventually by growing the association and strengthening our ties within the community. So that's the long-winded answer that I have for you.
So maybe to follow up on that, is there then in the strategic plan or in the projections for cash flow and budgets over the next 5 years of the length of that strategic plan, does it show that corresponding increase in revenue to both support the additional staff positions but then reinvest back into the trails? And would that information then be available for the membership or the public to see? Because we did get the financials, but not necessarily the future-looking cash flow or budget statements.
Exactly. So I see Kat, our treasurer, has turned toward you, and she's the person best placed to answer that.
Hello. So we aren't presenting our budgets going forward. It's not something we need the AGM to vote on, but we have put a lot of work into being very strategic and very data-driven on where the numbers are coming from, whereas in the past it's been very kind of static and a little bit of natural growth, but we're taking a look and we're saying, where can we actually grow? Like, where are we kind of leaving money on the table? And is that because we haven't had the staff, like in partnerships, for example, we haven't had the time or the capacity to create a new and improved system? And it's not even like new and improved, it's just with the times, right? Like you said, if we haven't changed it in a decade, how much has inflation moved in a decade? We need to kind of have the staff to implement these changes. So to answer your question directly, yes, we have our targets internally that we expect them to meet, and we will be monitoring quite closely what those look like, and we'll probably do that on a quarterly basis, and if we're not hitting those targets, then we will have to make some adjustments and figure out where, what to do. So yes, we have a 2-year projection forward. And yes, we have targets specifically around partnerships, memberships, and donations. I think there's a couple where we've just really, for the first time, put in a lot of data is like, when do we actually get new memberships, and like how often do they stay, how often do they churn, etc. So whereas before it's like, yeah, we're probably going to grow a bit next year. And that's because we have the staff to do that. So yeah, I think, does that kind of answer your question? Yeah, okay.
Hi, my name is Robin Coop, and I'm here to confess. I'm here to confess that I haven't read the strategic plan. So I was wondering if you could just broadly summarize, and this is not in any way sort of trying to put you on the spot, like what are the trends in land management relationships and broadly areas where we may be seeing greater access or maybe not greater access in the next few years?
I think, well, as I mentioned, Robin, earlier in the presentation, so the strategic plan is comprised of 3 pillars. One of them is financial resilience, and so that is the point to which Matthew Bond and Kat were just discussing. One of them is community impact, and the other is responsible land use. So the strategic plan itself is easy to read and it's accessible. It's only perhaps 5 to 7 pages, and that's intentionally short so that people actually read it and so that we have it flexible enough to guide the decisions going forward. So it's hard for me to say exactly. I'm not entirely clear on the type of detail that you're looking for in answer to your question, but maybe we could tease that out a little bit more, over a beer after I get off the stage here. Unless, I mean, Deanne obviously interacts with strategic plan every single day, and as I mentioned, it's something that we consider when we're making any decision.
No, it's fine. I'll promise to read the strategic plan.
I didn't mean to turn that into an
No,
admonishment.
no. I was just curious if there were any broad, high-level kind of trends. Are we seeing sort of a greater atmosphere for access to sort of novel trail projects from land managers, or are we seeing? Feels like we are seeing less negative pressure than maybe was the case a long time ago. But you know, just any high-level comment. But if not, you know, I'll just read the strategic plan and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, the strategic plan itself is a future-oriented document, and it's not one that is written in a sort of comparative tense. So you won't read the strategic plan and see, well, this is the trend based on where we've been and where we're going necessarily, and it won't show anything so detailed as, you know, things were negative in our interactions with land manager A, and we hope to improve those in the future, but you will read that we have general sort of goals. Some of them are specific objectives that you'd look at and read and think, okay, well, that's a program that needs to be constructed and built from the ground up, but others are much more general, you know, for example, such as, you know, just improving relations with land managers, or improving relations with our First Nations, because ultimately it is their land that it's built upon. And you will note that there are some trends in other jurisdictions for returning land to the First Nations that should have control over the access to it, and other First Nations that are asserting unilaterally their control back over their land. And so obviously, you know, if for no other reason than a pragmatic one, you know, to have good relations with the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam First Nations is advantageous for us, but naturally there's far more than simply the practical perspective. It's the moral and ethical thing to do. So yeah, read the strat plan and then let's talk about it. Questions from anybody else on the floor over here? Do we have any questions from anybody online or any of our memberships? Matt Bond, do you have another question?
Yeah, another question. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed in the financial statements for this year, there's a significant increase in the donation amount, which I think has traditionally been kind of a less utilized portion for the NSMBA as a revenue source. Being a charitable organization, can issue donation receipts. So it looked like the amount this year was double what previous years had been. I don't wonder if that was a specific donation or more of a general trend where we're going to see that revenue source of charitable donations becoming a more prominent part in the revenues of the NSMBA.
I think I'd have to defer the answer to that to staff or perhaps Kat, because I don't remember. I mean, we had the two pie charts, because Rob Donovan loves pie charts, and one of them was for 2022, and then there was the 2023 one, and because we didn't have a raffle this year, everything else, all the other sort of pies got expanded, but I don't know that level of sort of detailed fiscal analysis myself personally right now.
I'd have to look at the slide again.
Yeah, do you want to pull the slide up, actually? Is that possible?
Oh, that's a novel concept.
Just, yeah, going back in time. That's okay. There, next one. One more. There. Yeah. Yeah, it's just been from where I'm not in the super detailed nitty-gritty of it, but that was natural growth. Go back. Yeah. You'll also see, I'm trying to remember. It's all of the above donors. But most of our corporates are more partnerships. So it's just moving around. I think it's kind of, I'm just looking back, in 2021 to 2022, there was a bit of a dip, and some things went down, and then in 2022 to 23, it went way up, and I mean, I don't think we've been doing that much differently. True. We made it easier to donate online. That's not bad.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Are you getting any money from gaming?
Very small amount, 25,000 year over year. We did apply for double that this year, so we'll see what they say.
No? Jesse?
I was just wondering what the latest update is on land use agreements with the three nations. Like, what does that actually look like in terms of the relationships that are maybe beginning to be built or want to be built, or conversations that you want to have? I'm just curious what the latest update is.
Yeah, so the land use agreements we have are not with the First Nations. They are with the colonial landowners. They're with the District of North Vancouver, District of West Vancouver, and Metro Vancouver, because they own the title to these areas in fee simple, and Aboriginal title is, which is the term for legally, is a burden upon the Crown's, quote unquote, underlying sovereignty of the land. So those are not relationships, or rather, those are not agreements or contractual sort of agreements. We don't have terms of reference. It's not something that really actually in that fashion has come up. And I think that's in part because it's between us and the First Nations, there isn't that type of dialogue yet. Our interactions have been trying to just create the relationships in the first place, and that's been a lot of work for the school trail building and mountain biking program, and it's just been kind of those small steps of just trying to figure out how we can help and listen to the First Nations about what their needs are and what assistance we can provide or what value we can provide. So that's a much, I think probably a much more aspirational type of project that I think would be just based on where things are now, far down the line. Yeah, I don't have much of a better answer for you than that. Any other questions from the floor? What's that? Okay. I suggest then that if there's no further questions and we don't have anything coming in from the online folks, 6 minutes after 9, we will adjourn the meeting at this point in time. And thank you to all. What's that? Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. All right, beauty. Okay, meeting's adjourned at 6 minutes after 9. It's not the end of the festivities, though. We've got some prizes and I think a raffle of sorts. So let's get into it.